Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we're back with yet another episode of the Umbrella Academy, episode 4 finally, and I mean, not to say that it has been slow so far, but I mean, in terms of development of the characters, we've learned who the characters are now. There's still a lot of secrecy, still a lot we don't know. And so I guess I'm just really eager to find out what exactly is happening. And we have the gist of it of things. Number 5 is back to try to prevent um, the essentially the apocalypse as he describes it. We don't know a whole lot yet. We know he's now waiting on, or he's trying to find out this person who the prosthetic eye that he brought back from his timeline belongs to. This person is supposed to be the key, at least so far, the key to stop this from happening. Last episode we had the two suits. I still haven't learned their names. Sorry. But it did in fact confirm that it was Mary J. Blige. I did not realize it was her initially, but yeah. So these two characters actually went to the Hargreeves mansion, and they attacked all of them, and basically, well, I wouldn't say they got their asses kicked. They held their own, in fact, and I'm still quite curious as to how they were able to accomplish that. The guy was able to go toe to toe with number one, for the most part. Although at the end there we saw that number one was clearly pulling back. We finally got to see what he looks like underneath all the layer of clothing that he's always wearing, and he has an ape-like form beneath there, and his siblings seem surprised, so it appears they didn't know about it. And I know that he's been away for a long time, but I assume that it happened when he was younger, but it appears that's not the case. So it might have happened when he was while he was staying on the moon, or after they all left, because I think they left once they became of age, if I had to guess, and maybe at some point a doctor performed experiments on him, and so I'm just taking a guess here because I'm not quite sure how. It's still a blank in terms of the timeline and when they in fact did leave, and who left at what point. But they had a rough time, right? They only barely survived. They kind of. Yeah, and kind of asked number 7 to leave, or at least number 2 did, because Diego asked her to leave. In fairness, because I think he was genuinely concerned for her safety, and she was pretty much not useful in that fight. And I was a bit disappointed in that, because I thought that Dr. Hargreaves had trained her as well, but I guess because she didn't have any abilities, he didn't see fit to teach her to do it, to give her any sort of training. And I don't know. It's weird because of all the children, I consider number 2 to be the most normal, because we don't see, apart from being very resilient, we don't see a lot of his abilities don't appear to be all that supernatural. He throws knives, and I'm not quite sure how exactly he controls them. Whether it's some ability to control weapons or anything like that, I just don't know. And or is it that he just has precision aiming, right? We don't know a whole lot about their abilities just yet, so I'm still excited. I'm still intrigued to learn more about the extent of their abilities. So they sent number 7 home, and of course she went to meet up with the guy that she just met, and I maintain that I do not trust that guy. So I would like to be wrong, but I doubt I will. His appearance just seems to be a bit too convenient. So I do think that he's working with all the 2 suits somehow. And speaking of which, though, it's still a lot of question marks for me around those 2 as to how they came to be here, because I assume that they were from the future, but now it appears as though they're from the past, or at the very least, the weapons that they're using is from a much older timeline. I'm still a bit not quite clear as to how the timelines are coming together just yet. I did theorize in my last review that there may have been a situation where number 5, in his attempt to get back home, jumped back into the past, too far back into the past, and somehow while they're committed some acts, which is why his prints keep coming up in the police database for crimes committed how many decades ago. and that also explains the weapons and stuff like that. So I theorize that maybe he jumped back into the past and somehow managed to mess shit up back there, and then they followed him from the past to the current timeline and are trying to stop him. Again, a lot of questions. Excited to get started to find out more. So let's get into it. Last person to actually leave, or well, he didn't really leave. Yeah, everyone has left. What? The others, we spent a lot more time with him, but it also appears as though he was subject to the most experimentation, so you'd think he'd want to leave.
Mission alert.
No?
I repeat,
not much else to do.
Mission alert.
There's a biochemical substance, unknown, but dangerous, especially in the wrong hands. As my number one,
I was arguing to turn Grace off, but it didn't make seeing her like this any easier.
I don't think anyone outside would.
Dad sent me on a mission. And it went
Bad.
badly. I almost died. He said, well, I don't need any help.
People are attacking our family. Come on, talk to me.
I can't. Please.
I forgot he got taken at the last minute.
Like a little strangling to get the blood flowing, am I right?
He seems to be enjoying.
The last 10 hours beating me senseless, and you've learned absolutely nothing. I mean, nobody tells. I needed that.
Oh, come on. So, what is wrong with that guy?
He's a freak like his brother.
Everyone else in that house. Just another example, management sticking it to the working man.
Come on, not
The hell? Who'd you piss off this time?
I gave as good as I got.
You can answer my question.
Oh, yes.
He sings a random fingerprint from a
He's
1930s
gonna tell her he also had it running with those guys.
I just learned that the tow truck driver from the donut shop didn't have any family.
Yeah.
Where's
I
Vanya?
trust him even less now.
She left her keys at my place last night. I was just returning them. I'm sorry if I
Yeah,
scared
I
you.
don't trust him.
If you don't mind me asking, why are you here?
Excuse me?
No, it's just probably not. It's nice seeing you. I guess I'll just drop these off to Vanya at rehearsal.
You know what? I'll take the keys to her.
Ah. There he is.
Jesus.
one chance.
And then sell them for cash on the black market.
Including eyeballs?
They're my biggest seller. I mean, they sell like hotcakes. I've got a list, a waiting list, probably 20 buyers.
Now.
I don't have it. I mean, not on me. The only copy's in my safe at the lab.
Oh, isn't it? Must be.
Right. You're hearing him sing him now.
I don't know. It's driving me crazy. Wait.
Let's see.
What are you doing? That's mine. That's my personal
Oh,
stuff.
what do we have here?
Let me see that.
We can have a conversation.
Guess I could try to bribe him. More drugs if you tell us everything.
No, stop, please. Listen, I can get you.
You want peace?
You gonna tell them that it's special chocolate?
Not until they're high as kites.
Klaus, be strong.
I don't know where 5 is. I wasn't lying about that, but I can tell you that has a lab or something and looking for the owner of an eyeball, one of those fake ones.
That makes no sense.
Hold on, just hold on. Tell us more about this eye and why is it...
Tell you about Mom.
What?
Vanya, she's gone. And listen, last night what I said...
No, don't worry about it.
Oh, why are we here again?
Refill?
God, yes, please. Thank you.
His favorite.
The world is ending. All these people.
Your brother says hi.
Your brother says hi.
My brother. Been missing since yesterday. I need to find him.
You want to know why I left?
How about why you hate me so much?
What? What are you talking about?
Why I left the academy?
Yeah, because you've been grown.
At least I make my own decisions. You've never held down a job. Pay bills.
Needed me.
You stayed because you couldn't let go of the way things used to be.
Yeah, you could have done all the world saving and all of that after you.
That's no way to say hello to your old friends, is it?
Can we call it a night? I already gave you what you wanted. Just please, a little more specific on that. Oh, I told you already. He's not coming. No one will.
Well, number 5 knows now.
Number 5 would be the last person to come for him.
There's...
Welcome back to the land of the living, number 4.
Can I go now?
Or it will become the master of you.
Please, I want to go home.
No, it's funny. I mean, I'm just wondering whether or not his abilities can manifest to the point where he can, kind of possess the ghost,
Jesus. Look at her. At how she's looking at them. She's one of their victims. We can use this, Klaus, to control them, learn their secrets. Try to talk to her.
You tell me what happened?
What happened is if you don't shut up, I'm gonna cut your tongue out with a grapefruit spoon.
Zoya Popova. Really pissed at you guys.
I love your apartment.
Everything's in the right place.
I'll run away from an awkward conversation.
New sweatpants? We are going to need chocolate-covered raisins.
Oh my God.
Wait, what are those?
From Leonard?
Yeah.
It's a little bit awkward with your sister earlier.
It's fine. He knows it was a misunderstanding.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Sit. You told me
You said you were such a great...
No.
No!
They must hear that, though. She rescues Klaus and gets the hell out of there.
What's going on with you lately? You just...
in this together. For the long haul.
We are.
And not just go somewhere and gets high. We're getting high. And I doubt very much that it's money.
I can't be here when you come, okay?
Alright, so there we have it, episode 4. I know a lot of feels this episode, at the very least the last point there. Damn, that's a good song. Not a lot happened by way of action per se, really. I mean, we had was mostly focused on the relationship between Luther and his other siblings, more so number 2 and number 3. I've finally proven right about Vanya's secret admirer, not so secret anymore. Or at the very least, I think I'm right. I think he just put those flowers in there after getting caught to kind of give himself an alibi for being there. But I finally know about Luther's body, about what happened to him. We got a flashback scene to see he believes that his dad did it to save his life. Number 2 Diego doesn't see it that way, of course. It's like, okay, if you didn't stay there, it wouldn't have happened to you. He shouldn't have sent you out there alone, and you wouldn't have become like this. So I mean, they both see their father in different light, and I mean, they're kind of playing up Luther's naivety, and I mean, he still seems very much like a kid even now, right? Like he's the only one that hasn't grown up and has to face the realities of the world because he chose to stay there. So in a way, his growth was kind of stunted, so to speak. And I mean, they touched on some things like Diego teasing him about still being a virgin and stuff like that. But I think that was all to drive home the point that okay, he's very much the innocent one of the group, right? And he's a good son. He does what his father says. Doesn't question anything, irrespective of what happens to him and whatever the outcome is. And I mean, the father's not there anymore. He's gonna have to grow up and decide what exactly he wants. He's gonna have to find out what he wants and not what his father wanted anymore. Their mom is no longer there, although Diego has chosen not to tell them that he's the one that decided to pull the plug, even though he was against it initially. And he's a bit of a dick in that respect, because he likes to stir trouble, even when he doesn't need to. But when you strip away all of that, he's generally a caring person. We've seen he cared for his mom. Didn't care for his father, but understandably, we can kind of understand why. He does care for his sisters, even though he told Vanya to get the hell out. He did it for her safety. The detective, he clearly cared about her. It's obvious now that they had a relationship. And she's, I suspect that maybe she used to help him on his vigilante runs. And then she decided, once they were out of the academy, because apparently he got kicked out, I guess she decided to go to straight and narrow, and he still kept doing what he was doing. But it's obvious that Diego does in fact care, right? He just puts on this harder exterior to prevent himself from being hurt. So we're getting to know a lot of the characters. We didn't see a lot of number 5, with the exception of the last half where he's drunk because he can't figure out how to stop the inevitable destruction from happening. And we got some Klaus time, which is always a plus. Doesn't matter what the situation is, always happy to see Klaus, man. And difficult guy to torture, of course, because he just doesn't give a shit about anything and just wants to get high. And I mean, when you've from the very first episode, that okay, he's obviously high because it helps him to deal with his abilities. And his father didn't so much as, and we saw in the flashback, he didn't so much as teach him how to control it as he did to try to force him to face it. And that didn't exactly go too well. Of course, it pushed him towards using drugs. But Ben here is number 6 is ushering him and trying to tell him, why don't you try listening to what they had to say. As a kid, I imagine that would have been a lot scarier to deal with, right? These ghosts, remnants of past lives just popping up out of nowhere. And it's not to say that when they appear, they're in their normal state before they die. They're in their the grotesque state just moments before death. So you're seeing the gore and the body parts and the decapitation and all of that stuff. So that kid, I imagine that would have been hard to deal with. But he seems to be learning if he just stays goddamn sober long enough. And at the same time, as I mentioned before, his ability is one of those that I'm most interested in, right? Because I mean, other characters in comics that I've come across or animation who have similar abilities like that, and I'm curious to see how it manifests itself with him. I mean, we've seen where he's listening to them and getting information, but I wonder if it can go a level higher than that, where he can sort of allow himself to be possessed by them and speak different languages, gain additional strength, abilities, maybe martial arts and stuff like that. I don't know, for some weird reason, I think Sense8 came to mind, which was one of my favorite series. Obviously, it only had 2 seasons, but it was an excellently done series. And the whole idea behind Sense8 is that okay, there were 8 children, similar to the Umbrella Academy. Now that I think about it, not as many children, but 8 children who were born at the same time, who had a connection, right? Each had the ability to borrow the subconscious of the other individual, even though they were hundreds of miles away from each other in different countries, different continents even, right? And so you had one character who was his son, who was my favorite character in that series. I believe she was in China or Korea. I believe she was in China, right? And she met this, and through their sensate abilities, she was able to connect to this other guy that was in Africa, and he was the most normal of the two in that he didn't have any extraordinary skills, assets, or anything. He was just a bus driver, but at the point where they're in some sort of in trouble, right? It's like they kind of send out a beacon where they connect to the other 8, and in this case, he connected to Sun, and she knows she's a very skilled fighter, and so he was able to borrow her skills for the duration. He was in abroad with some guys that he had no chance of winning, and by borrowing Sun's abilities, he was able to use martial arts and to basically destroy them, right? So it's something similar to this that I would want to see for Klaus eventually, where he could borrow from these ghosts that are around him, not just for information, but also things that are more applicable in real world scenarios, right? So I'm very interested now in Klaus. He wasn't an interesting character before. He was an interesting character because of his personality, but not so much because of his abilities. So I'm curious to see where things will lead for Klaus. Of course, we got some bonding time with Team Vanya and number 3, and that creepy guy that I've said I'm very suspicious of, and I'm more confident now than ever that he is either working with the 2 suits, or he's working for a third entity that we just don't know about yet, right? They tried to get some answers out of number 5, but he was just speaking gibberish. He was still drunk, talking about going through puberty twice. No one should have to ever endure that. No one. So I mean, at the end of it, Klaus was eventually rescued at a cost, of course, and I've said it over and over again. I mean, listen, I one of the reasons Gotham, which is coming to an end now on its run, I think it's maybe its 7th season or something like that, and I watched season 1 of Gotham, and I absolutely loved season 1. I like that they were exploring the lore and backstory of all Batman's rogues gallery. What I didn't like was where they took the characters after season 1. They could I would have preferred if they took their time with the characters. It felt rushed, that they were rushing to get them to be their iconic characters, and it just went wrong for me. And so I stopped watching it. But the reason I brought that up is because a lot of the characters in Gotham are somewhat, a bit over the top and comical. Right? They're like Penguin, for example, and the Riddler, right? And that fits. It sort of fits their character in a way. They're insane, right? And so these two suits that are here, I enjoy them. They're a bit comical, and I enjoy them for what they are. What my problem with them though is that they keep doing these extraordinary feats that are going by unexplained, right? And not a lot is said about how they're able to do what they can do. And I do hope that later on they do explain it. I mean, not a lot has been revealed yet, so there's still hopes that they will explain that somewhat, right? So I mean, one of them, the guy went head to head with number one, with Luther, and he took the punches that I don't think any normal person should be able to take, and he was injured last episode, but for some reason, this episode they're fine, right? And of course, the female did the disappearing act in this episode now to get behind the detective to shoot her. No idea how she was able to get from that point to outside the door. So they keep doing all these feats that seem supernatural or superhuman in some way, but there's yet to be an explanation as to how they're able to accomplish any of that. Alright, so that's the only gripe that I have, but I mean, I hope that they explain that later on. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. It raises more questions than it does give answers, but that does get me more intrigued. I do like a good mystery, so I'm still hooked on this show, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode. Alright, so be sure to post down in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode, and what are your theories where these two characters from the future or from the past, as I theorize, are for, I don't know, what do you think about these two characters? Alright, be sure to hit like or subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.